Hey guys, welcome back. Micah Burgess here. And today on this episode, I get to interview Brian from San Antonio. He is a birth worker and he has had a very long career. And I'm excited for you guys to hear about his journey. One of the things that we cover in this episode is how we can support these loved ones, these partners, spouses that are in the birthing room, really get them to be a part of it, and how beneficial that is to the laboring mom and for the future of your family. So join us. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Game Day, Births Not Balls. My name is Micah Burgess. I am a birth doula in Waco, Texas. And thank you for joining me today. I am getting to interview a colleague, a friend. I am so excited to have this guest with me today. And this is going to feel super unique, super fun to you guys. And Brian Salmon is with me via phone call. He lives in San Antonio and he is the birth guy. I am so glad you have joined me today, Brian. How are you?
Well, Micah, I'm doing fabulous, and it's so fun to be here with you because I have really always been drawn to you as a person and someone who has such great love for the birth world. I remember meeting you the first time at the Waco Birth Center and had great conversations. I think I was speaking there or something. I can't remember.
You were?
But I met a lot of your peeps there, and everybody was so cool. But you really stood out as someone who had some other, some other notions of things she wanted to do, and I loved it. I was waiting for the world to crack, and here we are.
Thank you. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, your family, where you're from, some of your loves, your hobbies, and then we'll jump into work.
Okay, so really easily, I'm a doula. I'm a lactation counselor. I'm a birth mentor. I'm an international author on babies, birth, and lactation. I think my book's in like 10 or 12 countries or something now.
Love it.
2 languages. And I basically just love people. I love the birth scene.
Yeah.
I really enjoy what I do. Family, I'm here in San Antonio, Texas. I own Baby Vision Ultrasound. I own San Antonio IV centers. And, I love having an impact on our community. My kids are all into it. They really don't want to ever have babies now because I'm so into it and I have all girls.
Oh, my gosh.
They love it. Not. No, it's pretty funny. I go speak at the high schools and stuff here too, a lot of times for the human sexuality classes. And my kids are like, oh, God, don't come to my school. But, whatever.
Of course they did. Of course they said that.
Yeah. So now everything's cool here in San Antonio. I travel a lot. And, my passions are I love music. I love playing music, listening to music. I love theater. My family, we like to go to a lot of little events and run around and hit the water. I mean, gosh, like everybody else, right? We all have the things we love. But enough about me. Let's talk about what we're going to do today. What's up?
Yes. So I would love for our listeners to know what drew you to doula work. I mean, you realize you're the odd bird, right? Because there's not very many, if any, other male doulas, at least that I'm aware of. Maybe you know some now. But what drew you to that line of work?
That's a really great question. And the comment on the male doulas, I know male doulas, but none of them really do birth.
Oh,
they're usually
okay.
Postpartum.
Oh, I see.
Or they're trying to do birth, but they can't break into it somehow.
Oh, I think that'd be hard, yeah.
Wow. Just what got me into it, though, is we got pregnant with our first baby, my ex-wife and I. And we have Eva and Daisy, and Eva was our first. Eva came around, and I just, during that pregnancy, wanted to really surround myself with everything pregnant and baby and having fun. I love babies, okay? So for me, it was so much fun. But what I did was decided to switch gears, and I opened Baby Vision when we moved to San Antonio in 2005.
Okay.
Baby Vision, we do 2D, 3D, 4D ultrasound.
Yeah.
And just when I got into that, I started getting more into the whole space and noticing there were really no males in the space, and the ones that were in very peripheral aspects.
Yeah.
And all the stuff I was reading and looking at from other dads was very anecdotal. Didn't really have the real life value to it for me, besides, your fun life. But like, what's the science? What happens with birth? How can you really support?
Yes.
What's the psychological aspects behind it? How do you communicate better? How do you change all that? And I started seeing some real disruptions in the system, I guess I can say. So I would speak to so many clients that would come into Baby Vision, and they would tell me stories about their doctors or about what they thought it was going to be like and what it was really like. And I'm like, okay, there's something missing in between there, because what you think it's going to be like, what it's really like, there should be something to kind of coach you into the realities of the sphere you're getting into with having babies, right?
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Oh, totally.
Yeah. Okay. So I started hearing that. Then I started hearing doula, and my doula said this, and my doula did that. And I started going, what the hell is a doula? I had no clue, to be honest with you. I knew
Did you think it was
doctors.
a doula, spelled A-D-O-U-L-A, a doula?
I thought it was a doula. I thought it was my medulla oblongata.
That's exactly right.
So I started looking into it. So my background's in biochem and pathophysiology. I have a degree in radiology as well. So I'm kind of a nerd. So I understand all the hormonal pathways, and I understand what happens.
Yeah.
But as I got into birth more, wow, I really got fascinated, because there are so many things physiologically that connect.
Yes.
With breastfeeding, with skin to skin, with the overall environment, with your, I guess, as it's called, your basic capacity as a mammal to have mammalian birth and to, raise your pack and do your thing, as mammals do. And I learned a lot from, and I always give him a shout out, my boy, Dr. Stu, Dirt Fishbine. He taught me so much, and I love him very much. He's a good friend. Now we just hang out as friends, but I still grill him a little bit on other things, because I love to hear him talk. So, it became something I was really interested in, and I'm like, how can I help people navigate the hospital? Because that seems to be the place where it's a little crazy. I'll do home births, and I love them, but I feel like I'm not as
necessary.
I feel like, yeah, because it's just so easy, and I'm there, and it's cool. But I love being able to help bridge that gap between medical and humanitarian-y loving. Well, birth is like this: humanistic, holistic, and technocratic. Right? That's birth. Those are the three components. And when you look at that, the humanistic factor, I feel, gets left out in the hospital a lot of times.
Sure.
And it's more technocratic. So you could throw a little holistic in there. You can, gosh, what did Robbie say? Robbie Davis Wood. She told me, Brian, you can put a plant on a IV pole, but you're still not, really getting into the holistic, phase.
Got it.
In the hospital. So how do you make that holistic, humanistic, and technocratic merge? That's kind of what I learned to do, and I love what I do.
That's so awesome. I'm going to circle back, because you mentioned something about, you as an expecting father, your ex-wife getting ready to have a baby. And as you're trying to learn different things, wrap your head around it, really emerge, you saw a need in that way too, in terms of maybe some of the shortcomings in education for dads. I mean, obviously we're focused on the mom. So 100%. I would love for you to talk more about, listen, you guys, what Brian is giving away to these dads, these newbie dads, is so amazing. So I want to circle back. I want you to talk some more about that.
Okay, let's talk about empowerment. We always hear about women empowerment and birth and breastfeeding and everything. What about their partner?
Yep.
Whether it's another woman or it's a male.
Right.
Same thing. So the partner's still edged out sometimes.
Yeah.
And that edging out had to stop. And the first way to stop that is through education and understanding the process. And here's the funny thing about guys. Once they understand the process, they are suddenly an expert and they are so comfortable
Mm.
and so happy to be in that space and really enjoy the ability to have a part of it. So when you can wrap your partner into that and have them excited about changing the way they communicate, the words that they use, the way that they will reach out to help, the way that if you're trying to argue with them, the way that they'll communicate back with you, what a difference and what a huge change in families. I have guys that get back to me. I've worked with, thousands and thousands of families, right, in my career now. I'm old. I'm going to be 53 next month.
I'm right behind you.
I've worked with so many people. How are we so good looking, right? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so Micah, no, but seriously, I've worked with so many people, and I would never have thought I could be this close in having the connection I have with my wife and with my partner, with my kid.
Yeah.
That's so important to me. And for a lot of these guys, sometimes it doesn't resonate with their families because the way their families were, came about, where dad's changing diapers and taking care of mom and doing, things, and really dad or partner's really taking a step that most people see moms having to take completely,
Right.
And moms are exhausted and burnt out, and they're seeing these moms that actually, some moms still feel burnt out and tired. That's just expected.
Sure.
But for a lot of people who are really in tune with their environment, they go, you know what? I could see that if I didn't have this kind of help or this kind of love and this kind of support, that I would really be in a way worse spot than I can even imagine.
For
at this
sure.
point, because it's pretty good. So for me, it was kind of bringing everybody together, because then they have a better relationship and a better household, more fun for their kids and their family.
Good.
Even their dog likes it, their cat. No, I'm just kidding. But so
I was like, dude, what are you talking about?
Really, the dog and cat?
The dog?
Yeah.
They actually know what is going on. I have got my clients have some crazy stories about their animals just weirded out because I knew I was going into labor today because my dog did blah 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 blah.
No kidding. No, really. No, my dog is like that. She sees me talking about her. She's looking right at me. I'm not even kidding. She's on her bed staring at me. Okay, Micah, but something that I think is really cool is that in your book, on page 78 to be exact, the book, right? Sweet Southern Mouth is the chapter.
Yes.
I love this.
Thank you.
I love how you discuss things about different things. We're fiction to it ain't, I reckon. And then when I come down, I just laugh my ass off because you say yes, ma'am, which is very polite, right?
Yep.
The Southern culture. But to some people, like, you're making me feel old and frumpy. I don't like it. So this is something I always talk about. So I love seeing that because a lot of people skip right over it. The words matter, whether we're talking about, oh, my God, how about this one? Geriatric.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
What the hell?
Why?
Why? Who was pissed off at their mother? Someone was mad at their mom. But yeah, no, that's just, these words really make a difference. And so by understanding how you communicate with people, and we all make mistakes from time to time, girl, believe me, I do. This one couple hated me, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? But it was all fine.
Hey, you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And
no, exactly.
That's totally fine. I mean, look, if you are considering having a support person, they really need to fit you and your personality. Yes. And so I will not be everybody's favorite person. Brian's not going to be everybody's favorite person, and that's okay. Find that person.
I'm not sure about that, but no, I'm just kidding.
Find that person that really fits with what the flavor is of your life and your loved one and how y'all do life already. And you bring that into the birthing room, because Brian and I will both tell you, birth is normal. I mean, you should be having the same kind of conversations that you have at your kitchen table. And, that, I don't know, inside joke might come up in the middle of birth, or the way that your partner supports you in normal life. That's who we want your partner to be in the birth room. And honestly, that's why I think, at least I have found this to be true, when you have a support person that kind of oversees and understands a lot of the process and what's going on, and, maybe what this mama is thinking or what she's feeling or what she might need to hear in this moment, kind of overseeing that, then that really enables that partner to feel like, oh, okay, I can be myself. I don't have to wear the birth hat completely by myself.
No.
And so we find that the partners are actually way more involved. They're not being edged out because you have a support person in the room. They're probably more present because you have a support person in the room. Do you find that to be true too?
Micah, that's important because you have to find a person that vibes with not just mom, but with partner and with, understanding the core features of what their familiar, practice is going to be. I'm going to share 2 big secrets with you.
Tell me.
Okay. 1, Micah, I hate because I feel there is such a disconnection for the baby and the mom and their primal connection and nature, what we're programmed to do as mammals. When a loving nurse tries to do her best to help but doesn't understand the process and grabs a boob and then grabs the baby and shoves that baby on for the first latch. I feel that disconnects baby and mom from their primal drive and what happens. And if you just leave babies alone, they're going to latch themselves typically, unless they're heavily medicated with an epidural,
sure,
or there's some other physiological problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I noticed so much better success, and I feel like such a bonehead because with my background and my thought process, I should have figured this out a long time ago, but I figured this out about 3 years ago. And we've started making sure that doesn't happen. And those moms have such a better breastfeeding relationship.
That's so good. I love that.
I don't know how we didn't know that, but I'm like, wait, we are totally impeding nature.
I think
what would happen back in the back. We do that with a lot of things.
Yeah. And we got to take our cues from baby. I've mentioned this on the podcast before. Babies are different and they have a personality, and birth dictates oftentimes what their response is going to be. And so you can't really force a newborn to be interested in the first 5 minutes. Maybe they're not. No. Maybe they're mad as hell because of the journey they just went through and they're screaming their head off because they're giving you what for, Some of them.
What if their head hurts?
Yeah.
Or they're through a vagina. Hello.
Exactly. Or they're curious. They're looking around and so they're not focused on breastfeeding. That's okay. And I think there's a disconnect, like you put it, of, okay, yes, we want baby to latch on and we talk about the golden hour, but listen, the newborn, you got to take your cues from that baby, even with that very first latch, like what you're saying. I think that's really good.
Hours.
Golden 3 hours. That's good. I love that. I'm going to adopt that.
Leave the baby alone.
Yeah. That's so good.
Let the baby and mom do their thing.
Yeah. It's really good. Really 100%. Good.
100%.
I love that.
And the other thing is, free burn. I do something with my patients that they just go, what the heck? Because it's so crazy and different for what they thought they were getting into. And when we do our hands on and we're sitting there, I have them sit in front of each other and hold hands and do eye gazing. But I take it to another stage.
Yeah.
I want 1 minute and no thinking about, the day. No, like, oh man, that, a-hole didn't pick out the trash or blah, blah, blah. Yeah. No, instead, we're only thinking positive thoughts about our partner. I love her so much. I love him so much, whatever it is, because of this. I hope the baby has her smile or his eyes or blah, blah, blah. I want them to think in that mode. First kiss, first date, why they laughed so hard with this person, why they chose this person.
It's good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And really try and identify with that. And I gaze for 1 minute and I see them cry and laugh and be super uncomfortable. And by about 2 weeks into them doing this every day for a minute and carving that time out, not just for them, but for their family.
So good.
They see such a difference. And they now have created a very safe space.
Yep.
That is just for them. Nobody else understands it. When they look in each other's eyes, they start slipping right into that space. And it's calming and quiet. It's like when you put on your headphones and you put the noise canceling on. That's what it is.
That's
for
so
their
good.
relationship and for them. And I noticed that really makes a difference in their partnership in the birth
Yes.
room.
Yes. Yes.
Because, mom will pull dad in with her eyes or partner in or vice versa.
Yep.
And they can comfort each other in a nonverbal way that is very isolated for them, which creates their space.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It's so interesting that you commented on staring into each other's eyes, that eye contact, because a couple of episodes ago, I talked about, hey, what about sex life after having a baby? For a lot of people, that's a huge struggle, right? And so new moms are like, where did my body go? And now my breasts have a function. And it's a different experience. The whole sexual process is a little bit more complicated and you're exhausted. Anyway, I gave about 5 tips. And one of them was, whenever you guys are at that place where you're both back home for the day, right? One of the first things that you need to do is just look into each other's eyes, let everything pass away, and go ahead and start that intimacy, vulnerable connection by looking at each other, really looking at each other. And what that does is that promotes this and activates this that love and that intimacy, so that now mom doesn't feel like a light switch. At the end of the day, I'm in bed and I'm exhausted and trying to go to sleep, and now you expect me to just be on? I don't know that I can do that. You start that process earlier in the day. And again, eye gazing is one of those things that triggers that. So what I love is that you're having your clients do that in pregnancy to prepare for childbirth. And then that's something you want to carry throughout, even in your postpartum, so that your relationship, stays healthy.
Life.
Yeah.
Yes. I have Rocking Dad, so that's online. People can buy it online.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
My book's out there. I do a class called Rockin' Moms. And the moms, it's so funny because they'll come in, Micah, and they'll be like, all right, teach us everything you taught my husband. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. We're not going to do that.
That's awesome.
That was more of a sneaky birth class to get these guys thinking that they're really pros, so they could support you, and they came home and made you feel pumped up, right? Oh, yes, we love it. Oh, my God, the way he's talking to me, this, that, and I'm like, yeah. That's not what we're doing. Does my baby like me? Am I doing this right? Yeah. Oh, my God, is my baby eating enough? What am I doing wrong? What did I do? Oh, my God, is my baby breathing when they're sleeping? Blah, 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 blah. Let's talk about that.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's talk about fearing your baby won't want to eat from your breast.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the fear your family and friends have put into you, and why it's all bullshit and static.
Yep.
Because typically people tell you the worst things because they want you.
I know.
They want you to hear their sob story, because we're all just freaking egotistical humans, right?
This
right,
is
Micah?
Yeah.
I get crazy. I'm sorry.
Go. Keep going. What you're saying about, it's one of the reasons why I decided to start the podcast and write the book. It's like, can we stop scaring women about birth? I mean, yes, there can be trauma. Absolutely. There can be things that go wrong. I get it. And do we need to have that conversation? Sure. But overall, I feel like that shouldn't be the majority of what we're talking about when we talk about childbirth. Let's talk about the positive things and the normal things, the humorous things, the beautiful things, how monumental it is. And let's talk about that and stop scaring women. I mean, listen, you're going to hear or find out, or you can Google whatever you want about negative stuff or what the doctor did wrong. That's very available. But let's restart this conversation, change the narrative a little bit, especially doulas. Can we stop scaring women, and like you said, empower them and share with them that, even if your birth is not perfect, if it did not go exactly according to your birth plan, it can still be an amazing, positive experience. It's not wah, too bad for you. It's not perfect.
For real. That is the truth.
We got to shift it. So I'm excited to be a part of that process, and I know you are, and I'm so appreciative and thankful for kind of the pathway that you've carved out for so many of us that is extending beyond just what you were saying earlier about just this basic training and just understanding birth. But no, beyond that, if you're supporting and serving someone, pregnancy, childbirth, postpartum, and potentially beyond that, even, families, marriage, especially when they're still in their childbearing years, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot that we have to offer that we can give away, wisdom and tips. And hey, this is what I did wrong. Don't do what I did wrong. I mean, listen, learn from my mistakes.
For real. But you know what? Everybody makes mistakes, and we're going to make mistakes, and that's part of living. And, if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying new things. Yep. So you're not going to learn how to get into that and do it the right way, whatever that is for your paradigm.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're going to get in the birth world, learn to teach your parents to step back and disconnect a little bit, because everybody's connected to something.
That's good.
And if they can disconnect a little bit and spend a little time doing something for themselves, I guess I'll go backwards a little bit. So on top of the eye gazing, I assign my patients to do certain massage things with each other, slow dancing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all sorts of things. I give them their Monday through Sunday, and say, you've got to carve out these times for your family and for yourself where you're not connected to anything, just to each other.
It's good.
And to who you are, who you are as a couple, who your partner is, and where you guys want to be.
So good. Really
it's
important.
So nice to take a minute, and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to practice what you preach. And I swear to God, Micah, since I started practicing what I preach, and I finally have found the right person to do that with, it's been incredible. And
I'm
really
so glad to hear that.
So much more satisfaction in life, because these things really do have some weight, and they really do make a difference. But it's hard for people to do anything, just the two of them, without anything around them.
And the key is what you said, carving out that time. Listen, you don't accidentally have a really great relationship. It just doesn't work that way. You've got to carve out the time and the space and make it a priority. And I know that sounds like, well, duh, Micah, but the truth is, people we're not doing it. Our lives are, like you said, so busy, so full. We're connected to so many other things. And so, if you don't make these very deliberate choices to foster these ideas of connection and vulnerability, and it's just not going to accidentally happen, y'all. It's just not.
Nope.
And so I'm on the same page with you, brother, on that one. I think that's really, really good. Okay, on the phone the other day, we were chatting it up, and you mentioned it earlier in the podcast how you were going to like 18 births a month. Now you're about to 2 births a month. Why don't you share a little bit about your transition and your shift, and where you see yourself now, and maybe where you see yourself in about 10 years?
So in 10 years, let's just start with that.
Okay.
I see myself on the beach pretty much most of the time. So let's just call it that
right there. God, that's awesome.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. That's what I see. So, no, I was really gung-ho and really, really into it. And I loved seeing that the work I was doing was actually helping people and touching people, I think it's a little different when you get older. That's what I think,
totally
to be honest
different.
with you.
It is.
And I guess that's me saying, publicly, I'm just getting older, and that's okay, because that's what happens in our life cycles. And it's hard for me to accept, because I feel young, and typically people don't think I'm my age. But I'm starting to feel a little older, so I get that.
Yeah.
So it's time for me to pass the torch. I guess I wish I had a really cool person here in San Antonio that came to me that I can actually work with and train. To kind of just maybe they come up with even cooler things than I've got. But I think my recipe works.
It does. And I'm really hoping that in San Antonio, you're able to pass the torch in some way or another. They're really going to feel that gap when you completely step away. And I for me, you were talking about how kind of it's been a joy being able to help set the tone and some of the changes and the shifts within the hospital and all of that. And I feel the same way, but I also have found, Brian, a lot of joy in passing on what I have learned as a doula and giving that away to the doulas that are on my team who have been trained by me, and
100%.
seeing them excited and seeing them trust their intuitions too. That's a big part of being a doula. Like they would, the first few births, maybe they would shoot me a text or ask me a question. And then, after about 10 or 15 births, now they're telling me after the birth, you know what? I really thought that before they did the epidural that she should just stand up one more time and let's just see what happens, because I think maybe baby turned or whatever. Sure enough, mom stands up, she feels baby drop, and now we didn't have to have an epidural. You see what I'm saying? So they're starting to trust their intuition. And man, I tell you what, I feel like a proud mama with these doulas that are just coming alongside with me, and I do feel like I get to pass the torch, and I do feel like now it's better for our clients for one of them to attend their births, because they are just so excited and chomping at the bit to get to a birth. Please, me in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. Listen, that's who you want attending your birth, is somebody that is so excited, and that's who we were, and that we've passed that along to other people. And so, I find that to be equally as exciting. I could talk to you for hours, and I think we did talk for hours the first time.
We're done.
So much fun. And thank you for your time today and joining me and sharing a lot of your wisdom and your excitement and joy. And such a pleasure to have you with me today. Thank you, Brian.
Micah, it's always a pleasure.
Hey, thanks for joining me on Game Day, Birds Not Balls. You can follow me on my Instagram page at MyDoulaMicah. You can also find me on WacoDoula.com. Waco Doula is on Facebook. And if you like what you heard, you can subscribe, or you can find us on RogueMediaNetwork.com. Thanks for joining us.
This has been a Rogue Media podcast.